At 4:47 a.m., October 12, 2025, in the frozen steppes of Kapustin Yar, Russia, the most classified weapons test in decades was about to begin. The temperature was minus 18 degrees Celsius. The air was so still that exhaled breath hung like ghosts in the darkness. Inside a reinforced concrete bunker buried 40 feet underground, Russian engineers were making final preparations for Project Molniya. This wasn't just another hypersonic missile test. This was Russia's answer to American HIMARS, a revolutionary weapon system that could allegedly strike targets 500 miles away with pinpoint accuracy while remaining completely invisible to radar. The facility sprawled across 12 square miles of restricted terrain. Sensor towers dotted the landscape like metal trees. Underground fiber optic cables carried encrypted data streams to Moscow in real time. The centerpiece was Launch Pad Omega-7, a massive concrete platform reinforced with titanium mesh designed to withstand the 3,000-degree exhaust of the new Zircon-M hypersonic missile. What the Russians didn't know was that 280 miles away, hidden in a wheat field outside Kharkiv, a Ukrainian intelligence team had been watching. For 3 months, they had intercepted communications, analyzed satellite imagery, and waited for this moment. Their leader, a former Spetsnaz operator who had switched sides after Bucha, spoke into his encrypted radio with the calm precision of a surgeon. "Blackbird, this is Nest. Package is warming up. Confirm green light status." The response came from a concrete bunker beneath the ruins of Mariupol. "Nest, this is Blackbird. All assets positioned. Execute on my mark." Senior Lieutenant Maxim Kozlov stood at the main control console, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. The missile, designated Object 4202, stood 47 feet tall on the launch pad. Its ceramic nose cone could theoretically survive re-entry at Mach 27. Its guidance system used quantum encryption that Moscow believed was unbreakable. The weapon represented 5 years of development and $2.8 billion in funding. Its first successful test would shift the balance of power in Eastern Europe. NATO's missile defense systems had no answer for a weapon this fast and precise. T-minus 6 minutes to launch, Kozlov announced into his headset. His voice carried the confidence of a man who believed he was about to change the balance of power in Eastern Europe. At that exact moment, 43 miles northeast of the facility, something extraordinary was happening beneath the surface of the Volga River. A Ukrainian Marichka-class autonomous underwater vehicle had been lying dormant on the riverbed for 72 hours. Its carbon fiber hull, designed to mimic river debris, had been invisible to Russian sonar sweeps. The Marichka was a masterpiece of Ukrainian engineering. Built in the flooded workshops of Kherson using salvaged submarine parts and 3D-printed components, it represented everything the war had taught Ukraine about innovation under pressure. Its AI navigation system could distinguish between natural river currents and the wake patterns of patrol boats. Its battery could sustain operations for 96 hours without surfacing. At 4:48 a.m., the Marichka received an encrypted signal from a Starlink satellite 340 miles overhead. The message was simple: 3 numbers, 453, execute. The AUV's bay doors opened silently. 8 Shark 7 drones, each weighing 2.3 pounds and costing $340 to manufacture, rose from the water like mechanical fish learning to fly. Their wings snapped open with precise clicks. Their electric motors hummed at frequencies below human hearing. This was the opening move of Operation Blackout Echo, planned by Ukraine's 47th Electronic Warfare Brigade. The objective wasn't just to destroy Russia's new weapon, it was to do it in a way that would make Moscow question everything they thought they knew about security. The lead Shark 7 drone, designated Volk 1, climbed to 130 feet and began transmitting. Its signal was extraordinary, a perfect digital copy of a Russian Il-76 transport aircraft's transponder code. The Ukrainian cyber warfare unit had spent weeks analyzing flight patterns, stealing encryption keys, and building this electronic ghost. To every radar operator within 200 miles, it looked like a routine military cargo flight carrying spare parts to Pskov Air Base. The flight plan had been filed through legitimate channels using compromised Russian military networks. Meanwhile, the 7 other drones dropped to 40 feet, using the lead drone's false signature as electronic cover. They flew in formation, invisible to radar, their AI navigation systems following the Volga River upstream like a pack of digital wolves following a scent trail. At Kapustin Yar, Russian radar operator Sergeant Pavel Volkov was having a routine morning. His screen showed the expected Il-76 cargo flight, designated RA-78830, following standard flight path Victor 7 toward Moscow. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. Volkov had been monitoring this sector for 8 months. He knew every commercial airline route, every military flight pattern, every weather anomaly that could create false readings. His expertise made him dangerous, but it also made him predictable. What Volkov couldn't see was that the real Il-76 was sitting on a runway in Pskov, 400 miles away, its transponder dark. The crew believed they were delayed due to a mechanical issue. In reality, Ukrainian hackers had infiltrated the maintenance scheduling system and grounded the flight to clear the airspace for their ghosts. At 4:50 a.m., the Ukrainian drone swarm reached the facility's outer perimeter. The lead drone, still broadcasting its false Il-76 signature, continued north toward Moscow. Its mission was complete. In 6 hours, it would crash harmlessly in a forest, its wreckage showing nothing more than standard civilian aircraft components. The 7 attack drones split formation and dove toward their targets with the precision of a surgical strike team. The facility's outer defenses were impressive on paper. Panzer S-1 systems provided close-range air defense. Electronic warfare trucks created overlapping fields of jamming. Motion sensors and thermal cameras monitored every approach route. The perimeter was protected by a double fence topped with razor wire and patrolled by guards with AK-74 rifles and thermal scopes. But the Shark 7 drones had been designed specifically to exploit the gaps in these systems. Their carbon fiber bodies absorbed radar waves like stealth aircraft. Their electric motors produced no heat signature larger than a sparrow. Most importantly, their flight altitude of 40 feet put them in the radar shadow of the facility's own buildings. The drones carried more than just explosives. Each one was equipped with a miniature electronic warfare package that could jam specific frequencies, spoof GPS signals, and inject false data into enemy communications networks. They were flying cyber weapons disguised as conventional ordnance. Senior Lieutenant Kozlov checked his watch, T-3 minutes. The Zircon M missile's fuel tanks were pressurized with unsymmetrical dimethylhydrazine, a toxic propellant that could accelerate the weapon to Mach 27 in under 10 seconds. Its guidance computer had acquired lock on a test target 300 miles downrange. Everything was proceeding perfectly. In Moscow, Deputy Defense Minister Viktor Shoigu watched the live feed from the test site. 3 other generals flanked his chair in the secure viewing room beneath the Kremlin. This wasn't just a weapons test, it was a demonstration of Russia's technological superiority for the world to see. Above the bunker, through 40 feet of reinforced concrete, the Ukrainian drones were ghosting past the outer security perimeter. Their target wasn't the missile itself. Ukraine's intelligence service had learned that destroying the weapon would be symbolic but tactically limited. Russia could build another missile in 6 months. Destroying the command center would cripple Russia's hypersonic program for years. The facility's quantum-encrypted command and control center was the brain of Russia's entire hypersonic weapons program. It contained the source code for the guidance systems, the blueprints for the propulsion technology, and the targeting algorithms that made the weapons so accurate. More importantly, it housed the only quantum encryption key generator capable of programming the missile's guidance computers. At 4:51 a.m., the first Panzer S-1 system detected an anomaly. Not the drones themselves, but a brief electromagnetic signature as one of them adjusted course. The system's sophisticated algorithms flagged it as a possible stealth aircraft attempting to penetrate Russian airspace. Russian operator Corporal Dmitry Petrov stared at his screen. The contact appeared for 1.3 seconds, then vanished like a ghost. His training told him to report everything, but his experience warned him against crying wolf over sensor glitches. Possible contact bearing 047 elevation unknown, Petrov reported into his headset. His voice carried the uncertainty of a man seeing shadows. Negative contact on primary radar, came the reply from the main control tower. Maintain watch. Probably a flock of birds. The Ukrainian drones were now inside the facility's main perimeter. Their AI systems had identified 6 critical targets through weeks of satellite reconnaissance and signal intelligence. The main command bunker housed the primary control systems. 2 backup control centers provided redundancy. The primary communications array connected the facility to Moscow. The power distribution hub supplied electricity to the entire complex. The liquid nitrogen storage tanks cooled the missile's quantum guidance systems to near absolute zero. Each drone carried a 1.8-pound shaped charge warhead designed for precision strikes against hardened targets. The warheads used a revolutionary copper liner technology developed by Ukrainian engineers specifically for this mission. When detonated, they would focus their explosive force into a stream of molten metal moving at 23,000 feet per second. The engineering was borrowed from Israeli anti-tank weapons, refined by Ukrainian metallurgists working in underground workshops, and tested against concrete blocks stolen from abandoned Soviet bunkers. Each warhead could penetrate 18 inches of reinforced concrete or 3 inches of hardened steel. At 4:52 a.m., Senior Lieutenant Kozlov initiated the final launch sequence. Massive pumps began filling the Zircon M's fuel tanks with toxic propellant. The chemical reaction would generate 50,000 pounds of thrust in less than 4 seconds, accelerating the missile to twice the speed of sound before it cleared the launch tower. The weapon's targeting computer began its final calculations. Wind speed, atmospheric pressure, the rotation of the Earth itself, every variable was measured and compensated for. The test target, a decommissioned cargo ship anchored in the Caspian Sea, had been precisely positioned using GPS coordinates accurate to within 3 feet. T-minus 60 seconds, Kozlov announced. His finger hovered over the launch authorization button. The moment he pressed it, the countdown would become irreversible. In Moscow, the deputy defense minister leaned forward in anticipation. Above the bunker, the Ukrainian drones had reached their attack positions. Volk 2 and Volk 3 positioned themselves over the main command center's ventilation system. Volk 4 targeted the communications array's primary transmitter dish. Volk 5 aimed for the power distribution center's main transformer. Volk 6 and Volk 7 selected backup control stations. Volk 8 descended toward the nitrogen storage facility's main valve assembly. Each drone's computer synchronized with the others, calculating the precise timing needed to maximize damage. The attack would unfold in 3 waves, each building on the chaos created by the previous one. At 4:52 and 45 seconds, the attack began. The first warhead detonated 12 feet above the main command bunker's ventilation intake. The shaped charge didn't create a massive explosion. Instead, it focused its energy into a superheated copper jet moving at 23,000 feet per second. The jet punched through the bunker's armored ventilation system like a needle through paper, then ricocheted through the air circulation ducts, destroying electronics and severing power cables. Inside the bunker, Senior Lieutenant Kozlov was counting down the final seconds when every screen in the facility went black. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting red shadows on the walls. The air circulation system shuddered and died with a mechanical groan that echoed through the concrete corridors. "Control, this is the launch authority. We have lost primary power," Kozlov spoke into his headset. Static answered him. The electromagnetic pulse from the shaped charge had fried every circuit within 30 feet of the blast. The second and third warheads struck the communications array simultaneously. The facility's primary satellite dish, a 15-foot-wide parabolic antenna capable of transmitting encrypted data to geosynchronous satellites, collapsed in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. The backup microwave relay, housed in a separate building, was destroyed 2.3 seconds later by Volk 7's precision strike. The facility's connection to Moscow vanished instantly. In the Kremlin, Deputy Defense Minister Shoigu watched his screens go dark one by one. The live feed from the test site dissolved into static. The telemetry data from the missile stopped flowing. "Re-establish contact immediately," he barked at his aide. The aide's fingers flew across his keyboard, trying every backup communication channel in the system. The facility had become a digital ghost, invisible to Moscow's oversight. At Kapustin Yar, chaos was spreading through the underground corridors. The power distribution center exploded in a cascade of electrical failures that rippled across the facility like digital wildfire. Backup generators kicked in automatically, but they were designed to power emergency systems, not a hypersonic missile launch sequence that required megawatts of precisely regulated electricity. The Zircon-M missile, now just 15 seconds from launch, began its automated safety shutdown. Its fuel pumps wound down with mechanical size. Its guidance computer entered standby mode, losing the targeting solution it had spent 3 minutes calculating. The most advanced weapon in Russia's arsenal had been neutralized by 8 drones that cost less than a used car. Corporal Petrov, manning the Panzer S-1 system, finally acquired a clear radar contact. One of the Ukrainian drones had popped up to 200 feet for a targeting run on the nitrogen storage tanks. The drone's increased altitude made it visible to radar, but also put it in the optimal attack position for its final target. Petrov locked on and fired without hesitation. The 57 E-6 missile streaked upward at Mach 2.8, a $90,000 interceptor racing toward a $340 target. The missile's proximity fuse detonated 6 feet from Volk 8, engulfing the drone in a cloud of white-hot shrapnel. "Target destroyed," Petrov reported, his voice tight with adrenaline and satisfaction. But 7 other drones were already completing their mission, and his celebration was premature. The nitrogen storage facility erupted in a fountain of white vapor as Volk 8's final warhead found its mark, even as the drone was being destroyed. The shaped charge detonated inside the main storage tank, rupturing pipes and releasing thousands of gallons of liquid nitrogen that flash-boiled into an expanding cloud of freezing gas. The nitrogen fog drifted across the launch pad like artificial snow, dropping the temperature by 40 degrees and coating everything in a layer of ice. The Zircon-M missile's guidance systems, dependent on precise temperature control, began shutting down as their cooling systems failed. At 4:53 a.m., exactly on schedule, the surviving Ukrainian drones executed their extraction protocol. They scattered in 7 different directions, their AI system selecting random exit routes to confuse any pursuit. 3 more were shot down by frantic Panzer crews who were now firing at anything that moved. 4 escaped into the pre-dawn darkness, their electric motors carrying them silently back toward the Volga River. In the command bunker, Senior Lieutenant Kozlov stared at his dead screens. Red emergency lighting cast everything in the color of blood. The Zircon-M missile stood silent on its launch pad, a 47-foot monument to failed ambition wrapped in clouds of freezing nitrogen vapor. The facility's $200 million security system had been defeated by weapons built in basement workshops using civilian components. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we've lost contact with Moscow. All primary systems are down. Estimated repair time is..." He paused, consulting a damage assessment report that made no sense. "Unknown, sir. The quantum encryption system is completely destroyed." Kozlov removed his headset and set it on the console. Through the bunker's periscope, he could see the nitrogen vapor still rising from the destroyed storage facility. The morning sun was beginning to rise over the steppes, painting the sky the color of blood and defeat. 280 miles away, in a wheat field outside Kharkiv, the Ukrainian intelligence team was packing their equipment. Their mission had taken 3 months to plan and 6 minutes to execute. They had just crippled Russia's most advanced weapons program using technology that could be built in a garage by a talented engineering student. The strategic implications were staggering. Russia's hypersonic missile program would be delayed by at least 18 months. The facility would require $200 million in repairs and security upgrades.